A.
For far too long, Western civilization has always treated the global South as a playground where you can just jump in and disregard geographical borders to attack. We believe that it is time for us to try a new route that treats them as the sovereign nation that they are, in which individuals do not disregard sovereignty. Individuals talk to them like they talk to fellow adults and talk to fellow leaders. And insofar as politics system goes, is how we can empower existing system to habituate democracy and not just simply disregard and shatter it in the way that we could. The key word that you need to take away from opening opposition here is not whether it's opposition party or it's the junta or whoever. It's the fact that we are habituating individuals inside the country to practice democracy and practice internal conflict resolution. The main delta here is that opening government wants to engage and we don't. We want to support internal discussions to happen in order for them to solve their own problems. So then the question becomes, what are the three issues that we are facing here? Just so that we can clarify a bit on what they really want, right? So I would say that we want to stop the rise of Al-Qaeda, right? We want to ensure that the bad people who are radicalized individuals would not rise to power. We want to ensure that internal political systems are sustainable insofar as democracy is implemented. And lastly, we want to minimize bloodshed, which is weird coming from opening government insofar as they want an invasion, which I think would realistically have a higher body count. So these are the three problems that we need to solve, right? And I want everyone to be clear on this and whether opening opposition solve this issue. So number one, why Al-Qaeda rises in the very first place? This is a fundamental question that opening opposition asks. They rise to power due to the fairy tale of radicalization that pushes for youth and males, for example, inside their country to believe that where they are right now is a result of unfairness and injustice that is imposed upon the Western government. They are able to be swayed by that due to three reasons. One, it's because of the idea that they are geographically unfortunate. The Sahel region lives in the Sahara Desert, which historically has always been a problem in providing food to eat, for example, or the scorching heat allows for lots of jobs to materialize that creates a very tough living environment for individuals. Is it their fault? No. But it's unfortunate that individuals have to go through all of that, and this allows them to have any kinds of food provided available. This is why Sakar's incentive mechanism makes sense, because when we say to them that, hey, we want to engage to trade deals with you, even though we know we might not get much in return, it would give them that kind of helping hand, right? The olive branch through the trades of food coming into that particular country, for example, that allows them to at least alleviate a small level of the problems they have currently geographically, that this allows them to make crops breed from the ground. At least when we give them food through the trade, for example, an opportunity to be exchanged to whatever measly thing that they have and they're able to provide, and then we say that, it's fair, even though I give you 10 bread, for example, for one, export from that particular place. That kind of unequal trade deal that is actually part of soft power diplomatic negotiation is what we are trying to push to allow them to at least be alleviated from the source. Second is that the problem of trauma, right? Insofar as when Al-Qaeda risen to power before, there was a problem in which people are traumatized by having their brother-in-law, their siblings, their children die in their hands due to the bullets of Americans, due to the attacks that comes from our army, that injusticeably come and wreck everything and take all their life away from them. For them, life is meaningless after losing their father. Life does not have any purpose when my brother died in my arms. That is why radicalization materializes better. Because when you have nothing else to lose, you will give away everything to Al-Qaeda. This is why we do not invade. Because when we invade, we are exacerbating the trauma that has happened in the past due to the wars that ceases to end in a place that has always been so painful. This is why the absence of violence, and even if there is a reduction of that through whatever means of diplomacy, or even when we give them guns, for example, it might have less incremental power than what they have. Because if they prove to you that it's so easy and speedy to deploy armies because we have a base in Sudan, they also prove to you that the damage is going to be bigger and worse in their side of the house. Before I move on, Justin.
So let me just be clear. You want to talk to the junta military on the table, but at the same time, you want to supply a weapon for the insurgencies to fight against them. I don't think that necessarily works. Even if that works, you're going to create a prolonged civil war within the nation to reduce any possible stability.
No, this is the thing, right? The question is not that we want to, whether we want to support opposition or we want to support the junta. The question is, when we want to use diplomatic power and we want to support individuals and politics on the ground, we support them in order for them to operationalize that political system. If Al-Qaeda wants to attack, if a war happens, we provide them with the right arms in order for them to defend and upright the justice that happens inside the country, like any other countries in status quo does. The same way that Indonesia is equipped with power, for example, to stop, I don't know, insurgencies that happen. It's operationalized in a way that we allow individuals and governments to be strengthened so that they're able to uphold their own good governments. Lastly, it's the hatred towards unknown. Hatred towards unknown comes because there is a wide group of men that suddenly wants to invade and attack them. This is easier for them to just sway these people as the evil whites, the demons, the ones that we need to watch out for because they're here to take away our nation. This is why the absence of invasion and the absence of proximity geographically is important. Because it ensures that they are not swayed and it stops the growth of the Al-Qaeda attack in the very first place. That answers why then invasion would make Al-Qaeda worse. But how then we ensure it's sustainable and how then we ensure diplomacy would happen, right? It comes through three levels. One is that it's sustainable because when we empower internal diplomatic political discussion inside the country, it sends the message from them and to them and for them. When internal Indonesians, they might have conflicts, we agree. But the question here is that they're able to discuss and decide within their own to practice the muscle of political discussion, of disagreements that are civil that most likely did not have ways in the past and would not have so if invasion were happening and they were too focused on attacking the whites. What I'm trying to say here is that allows for habituation in that regard. But secondly, even if we were to discuss with them in these trade deals, it would seem fairer. Insofar as now we treat them like the sovereign nation they are, and we say that we treat them and engage them in deals of arms, and in trade, and in food, and all of those things that previously was not there before, we allow them to have that discussion. That's why I'm very proud to oppose.